Hello, everybody. My name is Hiroshi Furukawa, Head of Innovation Center NTT Data. I'm really glad to have this opportunity as I invited here Ms. Patty from one of our most important university partner, MIT Media Lab, to get the latest insight from their research on human and technology relationship. Before jumping into the topic, let me briefly introduce our Innovation Center overview. We've launched Innovation Center last year in August in 6 major countries in order to generate new value from cutting-edge technology. And our charter consists of to accumulate hands-on expertise in hot topics and also co-creation with innovative customer. And going to the collaboration of MIT, actually we started this collaboration 5 years back, and now Global Innovation Center is making the most of the value of this collaboration, which keep helping our activity towards client startup ecosystem and toward ourselves to catch up in the latest technology trend in a broad range of topic from, for example, from the how to prevent the dementia utilizing technology to city planning using simulation technology. So I will quickly finalize my presentation by here. And so welcome, Patty. Can you tell me a bit more about your background and also the research at MIT Media Lab?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure also collaborating with NTT Data. So my background is in artificial intelligence. And for the last 30 years now, I have been running a research group at the MIT Media Laboratory, where I am a professor. I'm on the 5th floor of the building that you see there in the picture. And my research group combines people with a background in artificial intelligence as well as human-computer interaction. And the question that we try to focus on in the group is, can we augment people with artificial intelligence to help them with optimal well-being and performance? Now, this is actually an unusual question to ask for an AI researcher, because artificial intelligence, or AI, is typically defined as hard stuff that people can do that is then done by a computer equally well or better. At least that is how Alan Turing defined the goal of artificial intelligence over 60 years ago, and it is what has guided AI research all that time. Now, people have built AI systems that can surpass human performance in many tasks, but typically only narrow tasks. We haven't solved the problem of general intelligence at all, and we won't, I think, for a very long time. Now, it turns out that very few human jobs require only narrow expertise. And I have been arguing for 30 years that we should instead focus on helping people with optimal performance, with getting more intelligence, we should really design for collaboration between people and AI, as opposed to being so focused on building AI systems that can surpass and possibly replace people in certain tasks. Now, one of the people that agrees with me is Eric Brynjolfsson, who is a professor at Stanford now. He used to be at MIT, and he wrote a very interesting article just recently that I have a copy or a picture of below there in my slides. And in this article, he argues that if we augment people with AI technology, this will actually create in more opportunities and in better social outcomes than if we focus on replacing people with technology. So that has been what I have been advocating for my whole career. Again, though, that is not what typically happens. What typically happens is that an AI system is developed and then it is dropped in a context of people having to use that AI system. And that approach often has a high failure rate because AI is not just an engineering problem. We should not just approach AI from an engineering perspective, because if we do so, we build systems that the target users won't trust, or systems that won't fit in an existing workflow and an existing work environment. And if we only have engineers create systems, it will be hard to predict how AI, or they have a hard time predicting how AI will be used or abused when deployed. So in my work, I focus on intelligence augmentation in a way, or augmenting people with AI systems so that they can make better decisions, can perform more effectively, and more.
Perfect. Augmented human with AI would be a really interesting keyword. So in fact, NTT Data published AI guideline 2019, and followingly established AI advisory board consists of external board member, like professors, to maintain the quality of AI system implementation. And in order to tackle, let's say, social problem, which AI system may cause, what kind of new trend do you see from your research? If you have any idea.
I think that it is very important to design AI systems so that the combined human plus AI system performs well. So we should not just design and build AI systems and test them for accuracy and fairness and non-bias and so on, and then give them to users to use. Instead, we should really do a lot of testing of the combined human plus AI system, and we should optimize how the two together can have the best outcomes and make good decisions, for example. So take, for example, co-reasoning, human plus AI co-reasoning. We have been building systems in my lab that help people with making decisions about whether a statement is true or false. All of us read and see statements all the time and hear statements. And we always have to decide, do we believe what we are hearing or reading, or do we not believe it? So often people don't really think enough when they read a statement or hear a statement, and they often are in this default mode where they don't rationally sort of think about whether the statement might be true or not. And because we really have two modes of thinking, and we often are using this system one mode, which Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman sort of talked about. Now, we have been building systems for a while now, AI systems that try to help people with reasoning and decision making of this sort. For example, we built the wearable reasoner, which was actually even in the form factor of glasses with a built-in microphone and speaker, so that the AI system can listen to things that a person is hearing and can give real-time advice to the person about whether they should believe the statement or not believe the statement. And we learned that if an AI of that sort gives recommendations to the user and also gives explanations, then people actually listen to the AI and they may change their opinion towards what the system recommends rather than adopting what they initially thought about a statement. So basically, people are open to changing their mind if an AI system gives them a good explanation and a recommendation and a good explanation for the recommendation. However, we then did a follow-up experiment where we built a malicious AI, an AI system that gave bad advice. And it tried to actually teach the person or recommend things that were false. And it would even give explanations for those false recommendations to make its own recommendations more believable. And what we learned is that in this case, people also changed their opinion based on the recommendation of the system for the worse. So basically, people decreased their accuracy in terms of assessing whether statements were right or wrong because they believed that the AI system, they believed in the AI system if the AI system gave them an explanation that sounded reasonable. So this is actually dangerous. People are too gullible. They believe AI systems too readily. And so most recently, we actually have come up with a proposal or a suggestion for how to avoid this problem, that people stop thinking for themselves when they have an AI that assists them, because they become a little bit lazy and they start just believing what the AI system recommends to them. So just most recently, we built a system that actually uses the Socratic questioning method. So it asks the user, it forces the user to think about a statement by asking questions about a statement before it gives its own recommendation and says, I believe this is true, or I believe this is false for this or that reason. And we learned that that kind of solution, that kind of design of the interaction of the combined system of human plus machine had the best outcome, the best results, basically.
Yeah, fantastic. Yep, people are easily receive the AI output too easily, but the Socrates method can be the one option, one solution to tackle this challenge. Thank you very much. So let's move to the hot topic. Let's say, as entity data, we recently created so-called technology ladder by thorough market analysis. Actually, we gathered a bunch of reports from external and categorized based on our internal view. And in order, the main purpose is to have a consistent taxonomy in the group wide, and also derive the candidate to accumulate expertise as entity data. And by utilizing this architecture, tech ladder, we identify, especially in data intelligence area, generative AI and foundation model would be really, let's say, hot topic. We must accumulate the kind of expertise. And in fact, entity data we are starting to utilize in, let's say, still in the trial phase, but to source code, to create source code utilizing generative AI. And also we're evaluating how to utilize claim handling in insurance industry. So, from your point of view, what do you see the potential of generative AI and foundation model, and any challenges to apply in a kind of wider scale as expected, if any?
Real explosion
Yeah,
of
so,
interest. There is a real explosion of interest at the moment, at least here in the US, but I think more worldwide, really, in artificial intelligence because of some recent developments that you mentioned in generative artificial intelligence. These are basically AI models that have been trained on a lot of data, a lot of examples, for example, a lot of pictures or a lot of text, like all the text that is available on the web and so on. And these systems can actually be used to make new images or to make new text. For example, the image on the left there of the astronaut was created by one of these image generating AI systems just by giving a very simple input. So the person, the designer of this cover, basically just had to say, create an image of an astronaut walking on the moon. The perspective is the camera is from the bottom, studio lighting, cool, whatever colors. And the system, the AI system, has seen so many pictures online that it can create a new picture, an original new picture that looks really good, basically. Now, we don't just do this, or generative AI can do this for images, but also for text. So we now have systems like GPT-3 or Chat GPT that basically can write text in that is really good, that is basically natural language without any mistakes in it. And those texts can, or those systems can now be used to write entire paragraphs, entire articles even. There was a newspaper article in The Guardian in England that was completely written by one of these AI systems, these generative AI systems. Or on the right here, you see a picture of an article where the journalist wrote some of the paragraphs and the AI, generative AI system, wrote some of the paragraphs. And he challenged people to discover or to say which paragraphs were written by whom. And people could not tell. The output of these systems is actually 95% of the time very good. Now, it's not even just limited to images and text. This can be done for a range of other media. Let me give you some other examples. Here are some paintings that I created in 15 seconds time of the Charles River in the style of the painter Monet. So I just had to say, show me an image of the Charles River at sunset in the style of Monet. And these were some of the examples that came up in 15 seconds. Architects are now using this as inspiration, like this architect used the system Midjourney to create models for buildings that are inspired by trees and nature. There are now systems that can generate logos very quickly. Like these are some logos my student made, again, just in 10 seconds time by saying, I need a logo about how people will collaborate with AI. And these came up right away. I asked for a slogan for the Media Lab, and it came up with a pretty good one. But even much more sophisticated stuff, like I asked, will AI replace human jobs in the AI system, again, trained on a lot of data, came up with a very uh, thoughtful, I thought, set of paragraphs about how we should really augment people rather than aim for replacing human jobs. People are now creating 3D objects. These were for Halloween here in the United States. My student wanted to create some household objects that were inspired by bones and flesh. And he created this teapot and a teacup and a vase and so on. And he went from text, just giving text input, to creating images, from images to 3D models, and then he printed the 3D models. So he has real objects. Just by giving a description, a short description in text, you can go all the way to having a functional object. Companies like Meta are now even making movies. So you can say, I need a movie of a dog with a cape flying through the sky and so on. And these systems can create original new movies that look pretty good. We are now using generative AI also in science, for example, to discover new protein structures that might be good targets for drugs. And we are even using it to generate code. So people have trained these generative AI systems on a lot of examples of programming code. And there's at least 5 startups right now that are generating code based, again, on some text input. So you can just say, I need some code that does this, and it creates the program in whichever language you want it to be. Now, the use of these AI systems is rapidly growing, but there are definitely challenges. These systems don't really understand what they are doing, and sometimes that is very evident. It is hard to control their behavior, and sometimes the output is actually really bad. Every once in a while, 1% of the time. They can be biased. For example, OpenAI, one of the companies that makes a lot of these generative AI systems, actually it's a nonprofit, they had to change their system because every time you would ask for a picture of a doctor helping a patient, it would actually make it a male, a white male, as opposed to sometimes giving a female or somebody who has a different race and so on. So they had to tweak their systems because they are very biased, because the data is biased. You can easily create deep fakes and fake news. There's issues of the rights of the original human creators of images and code and text, that all of this is a derivative of. So many questions. They also consume a lot of energy, these systems. And if everybody starts using these all the time, it could become a problem. So again, though, a very exciting area. There's even rumors that Microsoft is now integrating generative AI, text generative AI, in Bing, in their search engine, as well as in MS Word, so that you will be able to just ask your word processor to just complete your sentence, not just your sentences, but write a conclusion to your article or write a draft for an article that you are creating and more.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. I heard that young students try to utilize GPT-3 for their homework, and even it's also in the Twitter employee try to create their source code to present to Elon Musk for their task. But okay, the generative AI seems really interesting and having a big impact, but we have to be careful to treat, not to be biased. So, as previously mentioned, NTT Data has a kind of long history of collaboration with MIT, especially with your group. We are really close to do AI-related topic. So can you tell us more about a bit on behalf of me what we are trying to create, and in your thought, how to contribute to this society?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So indeed, I have been very lucky to collaborate with NTT Data for several years, and we've worked on different topics together, and we are always focused on emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, generative AI, etc., and how they can benefit society basically. And one of the areas that I want to highlight, some work that we have been collaborating on recently, is the area of AI-generated virtual characters. So I already talked about generative AI and how we can create images and videos and text. And if you put those all together, and voice as well, actually, if you put them all together, you can actually start creating virtual characters or virtual humans that can respond in natural language, sound very human-like, look very realistic, and more. And I realized that there are definitely negative use cases of this technology, for example, in creating deep fake systems. But we actually have been emphasizing how these systems can be used, or how these virtual characters can be used for positive use cases. And we try to make it a little bit easier to create these virtual characters by creating a system or a pipeline where you can take any input, for example, a live video or some voice recording or an image of someone or some text. And in our system, you can basically produce a character, a virtual character that says that text or that says those words, or you can swap the image of one person for another person in the original video. And what we also stressed is that there is machine traceability of the output, so that you know that it is generated, that it is fake, basically, as well as human traceability. So we have a mark that shows that the system is artificially generated, basically. So we created that pipeline, and we have been exploring a lot of use cases in positive areas, such as personalizing learning experiences, as well as health and well-being applications. And for anyone interested, we published a paper in Nature Machine Intelligence documenting a lot of possible positive use cases of these virtual characters. Let me give you an example. We've been
Today,
building.
we will learn about
quantum mechanics.
It is the description of the behavior of matter and light in all its details, and in particular.
We've been building basically virtual teachers. So you can basically choose your own teacher, or your child can choose a teacher that they are excited about. Harry Potter, Marilyn Monroe, Albert Einstein, and we can produce automatically the same lecture, the same educational content by basically changing the teacher. And what we showed is that as a result, people are a lot more motivated. The students are more motivated to learn if their teacher is a teacher, a virtual teacher that they admire. We have also been working on how we can turn books into living, interactive types of characters, really, that convey the same knowledge and the same stories and experiences. Together with NTT Data, we created a virtual Leonardo da Vinci who basically is you can talk to, and he will answer in natural language about his life and his work and where he lived and his inventions and more. And again, we did this automatically.
Hello, I am an AI-generated living memory of.
So we did this automatically. So we again created a whole system so that it is really easy to take the autobiography, the journals, and so on of a famous person, as well as some secondary sources, some books about that person. And we combine that with these generative AI systems for creating natural language to then create a virtual character based on that famous person that you can just talk to, and he or she can convey the same information basically as is in those journals and autobiographies and biographies. We showed also that that is a very exciting way for students to learn about Leonardo da Vinci. There are many other applications of these virtual characters in customer service, acting as a friend or a companion, for example, for people that suffer from loneliness, being a guide or a mentor, maybe in a museum, for example, or in some other context, a thinking partner, a personal assistant, memory support for the elderly, and more. So many, many possible applications of this technology. And I think we will see a lot more of these types of systems in the future. So basically virtual characters that you can talk to just in natural language.
Thank you very much for your lot of insight. Unfortunately, due to the time limitation, we have to conclude around here. But we covered a lot of topics. How to collaborate AI and human, and generative AI, and also digital character can benefit to the learning and life itself. So I believe the audience are well received, especially on the importance of collaborative design of machine and human based on your research, and also the idea how to ease the misinterpretation, let's say, of AI output in order to apply on a wider scale of system, AI system. So thank you very much, Patty, for your participation. Let's keep this kind of collaboration in the future as well.
Thank you.